west.
Your name will be known.
Every tribe, every tongue.
Your song will be sung all over the world. Your song will...
When I first came to study in the UK, the biggest problem I had was to be alone and feel lonely. Unfortunately, because it was quite expensive to call home, I could only call once a week. And during that time, I would obviously tell them that I'm doing okay, and sometimes I even have to put up a brave face and say and not tell them the difficulties I might have, because I didn't want them to be disappointed or worried about me, but also because they may not understand what I was going through, coming from a completely different background. To overcome the problem of loneliness, I naturally drew myself towards other Chinese students, and actually through them, then I got to know people from the church, who are local people, whom I then found were as welcoming, as friendly as some of these Chinese friends I've met. One of my best friends I've made when I first came was this British couple who took me into their family. And I still remember when they first cooked me a very nice Sunday lunch, my first British Sunday lunch. And that's when I actually felt I was at home again. In church, I've learned a lot about the British culture and the people, but it's also through the church that I felt most accepted as who I was. It didn't really matter what color my skin was when I was in church. I was just loved as Junie.
In reaching out to Asians, it's so helpful to have understanding of their culture and their background. I think probably on the front end, the most important thing is it helps us to establish relationships with them quicker. In our ministry, I think one of the things we've realized is that the students are extremely busy and their time is terribly valuable. So if we're going to provide helps for them, practical helps, it needs to be very, very valuable and relevant to them. We've done things such as English classes, of course, to help them with their practical conversational English very soon after they've arrived. A lot of them purchase cars before they know how to drive a car, so we do driver training with students. We help them purchase cars. I do a car care class and a winter driving course, which is very practical for them, and it provides a touch point for us to begin to relate to the students.
I met Keith from OMF when I came to the UK to study from China. I like him because he speaks my language, seems to know quite a lot about my culture, and he seemed to me lives out what he believed. Is a man of integrity. Keith helped me to understand gospel by talking Chinese, and what really impressed me was he used a lot of Chinese proverbs, and these proverbs really effective to illustrate his point. I'm grateful to God that I met Keith in my Christian journey, because he reached out with the gospel message to me and expressed God's love towards Chinese people.
I think it's important to prepare an Asian believer to return home, because regardless of where you are in the world, when you come to Christ, you pick up the particular cultural nuances of that culture. So things like reading an English Bible. They need to learn to read a Thai Bible or a Filipino Bible. Things like singing in worship. How do they pray? Is there different ways they can pray, which gives them the freedom when they get back to their own country to have more flexibility there and fit in. When we think about the East Asians returning back to their home country, The possibilities are endless of the changes that can take place through them. These East Asians that are returning home, they are the visiting scholars, they're the professors, they're the academics. They're the ones that their country's invested a huge amount in, and therefore when they go back, they're guaranteed places of power. They're the ones going to be walking the corridors of power. They're the ones going to be making the big decisions, not just at a community level, but at a national level. What a fantastic opportunity they have, that when they go into those unreachable places, they take Christ with them.
Your name will be known.
Every tribe, every tongue.
Your song will be sung all over the world.
When I came back to Japan as a Christian, my friends and my family didn't know that much about Christianity. I always find a chance to say that I became Christian, but I also, at the same time, I was afraid of their rejection. After coming back to Japan, I met a Japanese girl who heard the gospel in Canada, but didn't decide to accept Christ yet. But she returned to Japan, and I had a chance to talk to her several times and share gospel again and again. And finally, she understood gospel, and she felt she needed Christ, so she accepted Christ and baptized. Because I'm Japanese, I can reach out to Japanese people well. I understand Japanese culture, Japanese language. I can understand Japanese people's mind, and I really pray that God will use myself to expand His word in Japan.